was it because you felt that they couldn't necessarily fix it? So why put the burden on their shoulders? Because then they're just going to have anxiety of something they're not able to change. Is that
Well,
how you were feeling?
I wasn't married to my husband at the time. We
Oh,
were
okay,
in a
so this is
relationship,
previous.
but we weren't married, and we weren't married. I didn't think it was his place to rescue me from that situation.
Right.
And my son, he had sacrificed along with me when I started my business. We don't always think about that when we jump into it, but I had a good paying job. We had a beautiful life, and I walked away from it. My son sacrificed. And did I want him to know that I had lost his college fund, that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to feed him next month? Did I want to add that to my child? No. What I really decided was I can't fail, because I have to feed my child and I am going to pay for his school. And it was that moment of like, I just can't fail. Right? I have to stop worrying that I'm going to fail, and I'm going to decide right now that I won't, right? Which is what happened. I really very consciously said, I'm not going to fail at this. And I
wasn't an option. Yeah.
Whatever failure
you had
was
to
not
do.
an option. What was I going to do? Go bankrupt, lose my house, kick my son out? Craziness. He was my kid was 14. Number one, I learned that I do know how to make money. I can go from zero to however much money I want. And that freed me so much. I don't even worry about money at all after that anymore. You would think that almost running out of money, I would worry about money more. I don't even think about it anymore because I do know that I am able to make it anytime I want. Your future is yours to choose. And if you don't choose it, someone else will for you. So that's what I leave you with. Choose it or let someone else choose it for you.
Our guest today is an award-winning coach, trainer, author, and speaker who shows people how to reach radical success using the success system in their lives and their businesses. She empowers business owners and executives to build outstanding companies, achieve their vision, and impact the world. She runs transformational retreats in Baja, Mexico, and is intentional about spending time at the beach, and she also travels the world to experience its beautiful wonders. Welcome to the show, author of the Life Lessons in Success, Wisdom to Win the Game of Life, Angie Dobransky.
Thanks, Mike. I'm excited to be here with you today.
It's amazing having you. Anyone who's looking to tune in with Angie, looking to get her book, it's all clickable in the show notes, guys. Her social media, she's very active. I was scoping it out, preparing for the interview. A lot of my questions actually came from your social media.
Oh, nice.
And what you're doing, topical, kind of keeping it fresh. And also, I want to know a lot about the book. Thank you so much for this, by the way. I have like 3 books still queued up that I need to read. I try to read things in order as they come, and sometimes I move them around, but this is definitely next on the list. It's
an easy read. You'll find when you, it's meant to be an easy read. It's short chapters, 5 minutes, you can get through a chapter. So you'll love it.
Well, it's like, I get a lot of books that sometimes seem like, okay, this is cool. It may help me out in some way, shape or form. It's not always direct. Like, I get it. Like, I need this book. This one, I'm like, I need to read this book. Like, this is and it's really cool how it was written too, where it's not just something from your point of view. There's people that you're telling their stories, and we'll kind of unpack that through some of the questions. We'll learn a little bit about what the book is about. Guys, check out radstrategic.com. That's Angie's website. It's radstrategic.com. Again, that's, of course, clickable. Let's talk right about the book. I mean, I brought it up. And you're excited to talk about it. So it's a collection of 36 personal stories, right? And it's from ordinary people, which I like because people can relate. Ordinary people who change their lives for the better. They're actually true stories of achievers who turn obstacles into dreams. Can you share your favorite or a couple of your favorite transformational stories with us?
We're wildly different people. We're friends. We know each other. So we're from all over the world, and everybody told a different story. And so the idea is something will connect with you. And, one of the authors tells the story of having his child born and finding that she has some severe disability, something that was unexpected. And he tells the true story of how he felt in that moment, and how he decided to step up as a father and choose to be in the midst of shock, in a way that people don't talk about, or there's a woman who tells a story of doing everything right. She had the right job. She lived in the right place. She had the perfect family. And one day she looks across, the room at her family playing, children and her husband interacting, and realizes she feels nothing. She's completely unfulfilled. She has no joy or love in her life, and she decided she needed to make change, and she tells that story. So we try to, everybody just tells something from their life. And I know that everybody will connect in some way with, one or two of the stories, because it'll hit you in a way that you've experienced as well.
Yeah. It's like you don't have, it's not, everybody's not going to have the same story, or every piece of someone's story isn't always relatable, but we certainly can sit in their shoes and we can either empathize with them or understand, wow, look what they were dealt and how they got through it. And that's really what the show is all about. My show, the reason I started this in November of 2019, which is about 2 years from when we're recording this, which is exciting. This is going to come out around episode 101 to 102 range, and 104 obviously is 2 years. And so 2 years ago, I felt this heart tug, and it was to tell stories of people. It's not always comeback stories, but inspiring people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. And knowing that when you make that leap, it's not going to be just rainbows from the get-go, right? You're going to have these transformational stories within yourself. And when you see or hear, or in this case, read these stories, it takes you from X to Y, and you kind of feel like I'm the 37th story here. And you kind of, I know I just piecing through it, that's how I'm anticipating it. Kind of sets you up for like, me, I could do this too.
The feedback that I got, from people that read it, which excited me greatly, was things like, it was really helpful to read those stories and understand other people felt the same way too, had the same thoughts, right? Because it's helpful. We all think our lives aren't that interesting. I don't know about you, but I don't think my story is that interesting, even though people tell me it is. But I know that by sharing it, people can say, I have a pretty great life right now, but it's not all roses, right? And it's nice that people can understand that I was able to achieve this through whatever I went through. I think it helps people to go through whatever they're going through.
Yeah, and it makes me think too that, and this is something I saw recently in your Instagram that I was telling you about, but fear of failure, right? It's something that it's understandable. Fear of failure is understandable. It's not like when someone's fearful when they're making, there's these major consequences that are going to come with dramatic change. I think of like starting your business or leaving a comfortable job, right? Can you elaborate on some of the ways that you could push through fear of failure, or even give like a real example from the book, something that can encourage us, like, yeah, up front, it looks like this is going to be this impossible endeavor, but this is how you can get through that.
So, in my own story, I actually talk about almost going bankrupt when I started my business, which is not something I ever really told anybody, for a long time. When I first wrote that story, I had my husband and son read it, and both of them were like, we didn't know it was that bad.
Mm-hmm. You didn't advertise it, obviously, because it's like
doesn't
if they weren't
able
to
your
change
business.
it.
If you're a business coach and you're going bankrupt, that's not a strong marketing position. I'm just going to say, right?
Yeah. Right. It's something that you knew in your heart and in the struggle that maybe years from now this can help people, but right now it doesn't need to be advertised. And with your family, I want to speak for you, but was it because you felt that they couldn't necessarily fix it? So why put the burden on their shoulders? Because then they're just going to have anxiety of something they're not able to change. Is that how you were feeling?
I wasn't married to my husband at the time. We were in a relationship, but we weren't married. And I didn't think we weren't married. I didn't think it was his place to rescue me from that situation. Right. And my son, he had sacrificed along with me when I started my business. We don't always think about that when we jump into it. But I had a good paying job. We had a beautiful life, and I walked away from it. My son sacrificed. And, did I want him to know that I had lost his college fund, that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to feed him next month? Did I want to add that to my child? No. What I really decided was, I can't fail, because I have to feed my child and I am going to pay for his school. And it was that moment of like, I just can't fail, right? I have to stop worrying that I'm going to fail. And I'm going to decide right now that I won't, right? Which is what happened. I really very consciously said, I'm not going to fail at this. And I
wasn't an option. Yeah.
Whatever failure was not an option. What was I going to do? Go bankrupt, lose my house, kick my son out? Craziness. My kid was 14.
And when was this? How long ago, if you don't mind us?
2009. It was August of 2009 was when I ran out of money.
Okay.
My son was a junior in high school.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, this is incredible because we've talked a couple times, like anyone who's tuning in, thank you for being with us here, either on YouTube or listening on Apple, Spotify, however you're tuning in right now. I've met Angie a couple times and I knew that she had a crazy comeback story and I'm excited to hear it, but I did not know that. I didn't know the perspective is such an important part to a comeback story. Cause I mean, if you're a college kid and you lose it all and then you gain it all, it's not as dramatic as someone with a kid in junior. How old was
your son? I was a single parent. I was 15, a single 16? Parent. My son was 16 at the time. 16. I was out of money.
Yeah. Wow. Talk about a cliffhanger. Here's what we're going to do. I want to hold on that right there. We're going to get to a quick break, quick 60-second sponsorship timeout. When we get back, we're going to focus more on your story. I want to hear your incredible story. So guys, sit tight. We'll be right back. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with Angie. You guys can connect with her again. She's very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Check out her website, radstrategic.com. All links clickable in the show notes. So let's dive right back in. So tell us about that feeling where you felt a little bit out of control. Your son's 16 years old. You're a single parent. You knew you were going through bankruptcy. You knew it was going to help you at least have a fresh slate. And then were you able to keep your head level? And I'm speaking from some experience here where I've hit some rock bottom moments in my life. And the one thing I can say personally that helped me continue to move forward is kind of like being the quarterback that has 4 guys trying to sack him and end his career. Like they're coming after you, right? You're getting knocked down, but you have to keep your eyes up the field. You have to kind of keep your shoulders level and still deliver as accurate of a pass as possible. So that's kind of my analogy of it. How did you kind of get through that in the early stages? Did you find something that worked to keep you level-headed?
There were 2 things that really helped me go through that. I mean, just the backstory is I quit my job started a business in July of 2007, and then the Great Recession happened, and I lost my money and didn't really get my business launched, right? Which is how I ended up where I was. And there were 2 things. So number one, as a parent, and you're a parent, you know this, I was going to feed my child. It didn't matter. That was a motivation that's deeper than any other motivation on the planet. I'm not sure if I might have quit if I didn't have a child, to tell you the truth, but I'm not sure. You never know. And the second thing was, from the moment I started this business, I knew it was what I was supposed to do. I just knew it on a deep level, and I was making a difference for people, right? And that kept me so level-headed, even though, I wasn't sleeping, right? I think I even went to the doctor at some point for medication. It was bad, but I was like, I know I'm supposed to do this, right? I know I am. And so that helped me to stay focused and get up every day and go try to find business and get creative and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So, I think of that moment that you're in, right? So you had this transformational moment. You kind of had to shed some of the situation that happened. There's no woe is me. It's like you're laying on the mat, right? I'm using more sports analogies. You're laying on the mat after a big defeat. But, most people are going to be at that point at some point in their life, in some situation. But it's about how quickly you got back up and we're able to kind of dust it off. And it's okay to feel the pain. I think so many people try to not experience the pain. Like, if I just move on, it didn't happen. but it's important to feel it and then set up some kind of roadmap. Were you working with a coach back then, or how were you getting like your positive think?
I've almost always had a coach, since I started my business. So I was definitely working with a coach. The one I was working with, I've had some great coaches. I will say in that moment, I did not have a particularly great coach. They weren't, they were telling me what I needed to do, but they weren't taking me where I needed to go. Right.
Right.
The coach at the time was like, well, if you just do this. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. Like.
I know I've had some coaches tell me, like, I'm always trying to get advice on a strong business plan, like something that if you've got 30 years in business, you can look at my business plan and tell me either it's upside down, left, right, center. And a lot of them tell me, bring me your business plan. And I'm like, can we do it together? Or I don't want you to do it for me, but I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like they want you to bring you something so they could work on it. You're like, let's build it from the ground up together. Like, if I'm not stacking the blocks correctly, just tell me now. Why do you want me to put some garbage together and hand it to you, and then you just rip the whole thing apart? Can you tell me how to build it? Bricks go like this, and then the third one goes in the middle. If I didn't know that, I'd be building a wall, and it's going to look a little crooked, like it probably would if I tried to build a wall. Right? I'm not a construction. I'm not.
I don't know how to do it. You need to show me. I'm a perpetual learner, and I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill and people like that. And I believe that stuff. And I believe it because it works for me. Right. And I knew Mike Dooley changed my life back in those days. I still follow Mike Dooley. If you don't know who he is, you should look him up. He does this really, really cool newsletter daily thing. But I believe that whatever you focus on is what you get. And I believed it back then. And I knew that focusing on the fact that I was out of money and had very few options would lead me to having less money and less options. And that what I really needed to focus on was how to make the business work, which is when I decided that clearly all what I needed to do was just get over my fear, pick up the phone, call 10 people every single day, which I did for a month. Every single day, I called 10 random strangers and I said, can I help you grow your business? Realize I'm going bankrupt myself. So I'm in a weird integrity position, but I didn't know how to grow a business. I just had some things happen, and at the end of the month, I secured enough clients. I made $16,000 in revenue, which, that became my new base, and everything turned around. It took me 1 month to save myself, but it took me many months to get to the place where I was able to save myself.
Well, I've heard this many times now where many of the entrepreneurs I tune into, I love listening to podcasts. I learned so much. I wouldn't have started a business or a podcast myself if it wasn't for listening to those who had these really incredible stories that were willing to share them. And most of the people I connect with, guess what? They're vulnerable. Like you and I, we're willing to talk. Okay, let's tell some of those things that aren't so advantageous to say out loud in front of a new audience, but it's part of our growth. And it's being real. People can connect with that, and then that can help them. And if we're not actually real and we're trying to be over polished or plastic, right? Plastic people, I mean, they have a different job up on TV. It's either entertainment or different things, but it's not helping you actually get through your real life problems and get you to a goal. And the thing that I bring that up is many of the people I'm talking about, these entrepreneurs that I tune into, they've either at some point in their life had it all, lost it all, and built it back. Similar to you, you had a successful thing going, recession, a couple crazy situations put you in this slingshot. So you were pulled back at the moment, and then you were able to slingshot forward. But when you actually knew a lot of the processes and things in place to build a business, you were showing other people how to do it. It was working. Your credibility was built on your resume, opposed to just the image that you saw in the mirror every day, because that person was growing every single day. And it wasn't fair for someone to judge you in the moment, because that doesn't identify everything you're capable of doing, which is a really, really strong point. And for people to listen to this right now, realize at some point, if you feel like you had it and you lost it and you're working on building it back, you're in a much better position, because at least you at some point in time had some systems to put in place, processes so important that you can go back and do it again. It's kind of like, I think of this, you lose some weight, you're looking good. And then maybe you move. I moved in with a couple years ago. I moved in with family. right? After my divorce for a little period of time. And I was eating like crazy. I wasn't eating healthy because there was so much food available. Like, we're Italian, we eat all the time. So whatever I could get my hands on, it was there and gone. And all of a sudden I put like 50 pounds on. But then I was able to, at the beginning of this year, restart a new meal plan, meet with
Because
the
you knew.
dietitian, and I followed a system and process, and I lost it again because I
You,
knew,
you
like,
knew how to do it, and
mhm,
that's going through that experience taught me two things. So number one, what I actually learned, because I did earn all my money back, right, and I have 3 properties, and life is good again, is number one, I learned that I do know how to make money. I can go from zero to however much money I want, and that freed me so much. I don't even worry about money at all after that anymore. You would think that almost running out of money, I would worry about money more. I don't even think about it anymore, because I do know that I know I am able to make it anytime I want. And I've always said, this is related, that it's a lot easier to be poor if you've been rich first, because you already had the stuff. So, when I had no money in the bank, but I was still wearing designer clothes and driving a decent car, and I still lived in a nice house, right? I still had the things I needed. Now, if I didn't have those things, I don't know. I couldn't have showed up in a jeans and a t-shirt and thought, on a bus, and found many clients, right? So I did have the benefit of having some foundation
yeah.
that would work for me.
And your mentality wasn't shaken.
Right.
I mean, it may have been rattled,
Well,
but
it
it
was in
wasn't.
moments, but
It it,
not
wa-
overall.
it was still, you had enough intact. I mean, you wouldn't have gotten where you went without having the right mentality. I mean, you talked about your son was a driving inspiration, but you also had the mentality to keep it going and figure it out, and you never gave up. I mean, you didn't. Let's be real. You got through that. I mean, that's important for people to like, take Angie's story and apply it to yourself. How can you take this information, whatever you're going through, and apply it to yourself? That's my ask for the audience, to think about it. Think about you in this situation. And then we'll get a little bit back to that comeback story. I also want to talk about some of the cool things you're doing now. We talked to kind of roadmap, right? We're talking maps. I'm kind of thinking about travel departure. Earlier
Yeah.
in the episode, we talked about all the amazing trips that you go on, what you love to do. You execute on it, right? So more than I do. I'd love to get out and go and see the world, but you do that. You travel. So it's got me thinking about radical departure retreats. And I know you have this as part of your business. Can you talk about what those are?
So we have some land in Todos Santos, Mexico, which is in the Baja Peninsula near Cabo San Lucas. And we're building a retreat center. In the meantime, we still go there. We have a place that we can rent and do them. But really, we take groups of people away. It can be 6 random strangers or a small team, and we take them to a place where they've never been, where they're reasonably safe, but it's not undangerous. It's raw. We're in the middle of the desert. They do activities they've never done. We might go, surf lessons are a regular thing. We might meditate on the mountaintop at sunset, right? I've got, businessmen doing a morning meditation. They've never meditated in their life, right? And during that, we're also going through a program I created, which is deep work about who are you and what do you want and what is your vision for the future, and then what are the first steps you need to leave and to make it happen. And the idea is they come home and they know what they want, right? And they've got some real actions to take. I was just talking to one of the women. The last one we did was before the pandemic, January 2020. All 6 of those women have had an amazing experience since. But I was just talking to one of the women. She told me she'd gotten engaged. And I said, I didn't even know that was on your radar. And she said, back at the departure, what was on my radar was I need to know where my relationship is going. And I committed to you that I would have the hard conversations with my partner at the time. I came home, I did them. It got him thinking about where we were going to go. And now we've decided to get married.
Incredible. Yeah, you never
That's
know
what
where the
radical departure
seed
is about.
where the seed is planted. You never know where the tree is going to grow, right?
Right.
That's cool. So it's 6 different people. You get to meet and grow with these unique individuals, right? And
Right.
The benefit for you is you get to go on each of them. There's multiple trips throughout the year, right? I mean, that's a tight group, though, 6, right? How do you choose them? Is it applications? Is it something that you're actively seeking out? Hey, you'd be a great fit for my program?
Sometimes I have themes like this one because it was all women, right? I do take men and co-ed too, but there's different dynamics in that, right? So I was like, I want to be women; they should be business women or executives, and so pretty much at that point, I have a big database. I invited people, so sometimes they're themed, right? Like, hey, I'm looking for male business owners or whatever. But sometimes it's like whoever shows up, or sometimes it's people who can have a group, right? Hey, me and these 6 people would like to do a retreat together, then it's like, oh, we can do that too. So just depends on how we plan them out. I'm working on the 2022 schedule now, so we'll
Yeah,
see where
that's
those lay
exciting. So you
out.
don't, it's not the same every time, which keeps it fresh for you too. It's not always the same. That's really cool. So, and again, guys, you could check that out. It's right on her website. The link's clickable. So you can go to the tab and there's the radical retreats on there as well. So here's what I'm wondering is you like to have a lot of fun. You're on the beach, you enjoy life. One time we were talking, you were either going to or just coming back from a beautiful boat ride that had like the glass bottom boat. And I was really, really jealous because
We
I'd love
didn't
to
get to
join you
go.
sometime.
The
Oh, you
hurricane
didn't end up
ruined that
going
trip.
because of the
Yeah.
hurricane. But I know that you're out there, you're enjoying it. And I'm wondering myself now as we're talking more, because you have a ton of success. You're always busy. You put together this amazing book that you wrote. How do you balance it all? Like how you're go, 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 but you also know how to chill. Is there something that you're mindful about, or is that just part of your
My whole
personality?
life is intentional, Mike.
Yeah.
It's intentional. I intentionally live hard and I mean work hard and play hard. That's
Hmm.
part of my theme. I have absolute boundaries. You know, if it like, you know, if I plan to go to the beach, I will not schedule an appointment right in that time. You know,
So you schedule time, beach time, you schedule. It's not just if I have
not
extra
super
time.
far in advance, so I'm not crazy like that. And some people are, so don't think I think you're crazy. I think it's cool, but I'm not there. But I do like every day. I look in the morning. I use the Panda Planner, my absolute favorite tool. I swear by it. But every day I said, what is today going to look like? And I decide. You know, and then I follow that decision. You know, most every day.
Yeah. You said something earlier and I didn't mean to brush past it. There's so much we wanted to cover and we have like less than a handful of minutes left here. Um, you talked about intentionality and then earlier you said whatever you focus on is what kind of can grow. And I had a conversation with so many guests about that and just recently with someone that interviewed me on a really quick financial piece. And I said, look, I'm going to be first to admit I don't have it all figured out. But I'll tell you what I can tell you is whatever you focus on, you can improve, you can grow. If it's something like, you know, that you can literally grasp and get your hands on, like clay, you mold it, eventually something will come. If you focus on your finances and you actually mark everything down and you look in there and you can actively see what's going on, you're going to have a much better grasp of it and understanding where money's coming from and going. And I think a lot of people try to put things out of their mind because then the pressure's off, like, oh, it's over there. But how is something going to ever improve if you're kind of pushing it out? People do it in relationships. We don't want to talk about that. That's an uncomfortable topic. Push it. I'm going to work. We come back. We'll handle it with the kids. And that thing got pushed away. And 3 weeks later, a big fight happens because it never got addressed. So what you're saying is you're intentional about the details. If you want something in your life, you put it in
I
a
go
box.
get it.
You say, I'm
Yeah.
going to go get that. And then you create game plans around it, right?
I do. And, you know, the really important thing about intention that people don't talk about so much is that it works both ways. So we actually, as humans by nature, and certainly as Americans, focus a lot on the negative stuff around us. And we amplify that in our lives. So we focus on what we don't have. We focus on what other people have. We focus on what's going on in the world that's in our way. We focus on the politics. We focus on the virus. We focus on the friend next door. And we bring more of that into our lives. And I really intentionally try to spend as little time as possible ever doing that. This is what I want today. I don't care what else is happening in the world. I will go get my things and it'll all work out fine.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of know generally what's going on in our country and in the world, right? You don't want to be completely blind,
You don't want to be
but too
ignorant to
many
it.
people hang on it. And it's almost like if something good happens, which is very rare, like as far as what the news is going to provide you, um, you're almost like a lot that's controlling or dictating your feelings. And then when you know most of it's going to be negative news, who got shot, how many people died with COVID, this, that, and the other thing, it's so heavy. And you're not controlling what's being put
You can control how you process that as well.
Right.
I mean, look, I've said this to many people. The pandemic for me was a gift from the God that I don't even believe in, right? That my life has been enhanced so much by the pandemic. I've been trying to go virtual and be a total virtual nomad for years, and I couldn't do it. And the pandemic pushed me right there. I mean, honestly, that I've been so creative, and other people are like, oh my gosh, my life is over. What a terrible thing. And I'm like, well, we all experience the same thing. We all got to choose how we went through it.
We all got the same hand. What do we do with it? Right.
Yeah.
Some people have a better poker face. Some people crumble under pressure. And I'm not trying to sound harsh with that, but yeah, we all had the same situation to get through. Some of us, not everybody's business is as easy as like, oh, I can just hop on Zoom calls and keep running my business. I mean, if you're like a physical retail store that sold trinkets, you
were a gym, like a client of mine who opened a gym a year before the pandemic, you were screwed. But you know what? She's still open, and she was just featured on Real Housewives of DC or something. And she did whatever she could to keep that gym open and make it through.
You got to get creative, and adversity certainly forces you to be a little bit more creative. And I know God definitely in the universe will do that to you. If you're a little bit too comfortable for too long, you got a rude awakening coming.
Oh, typically. Always, don't you think? I think that's the way the world works. As soon as
it's almost like if it's too quiet, you're like, something doesn't feel right here.
Yeah.
We got one more question, and I know we have like 1 more minute left. So I hate to give you drop such a bomb on you here at the end, but this is, I think, a great way to summarize so we can learn a little bit more about you and what's important to you and where you're looking to go next in your story, because you're still in the middle of your story. And think of it this way. You're the author and the protagonist in your own life story. You get to write the ending. God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous, beautiful life. You're looking back. You're reflecting on that. You get to define your legacy. What would that be?
I'm trying to be immortal. That's all I'm trying to do. Immortality is all I want. And I believe that the way you create immortality is by leaving an impact with the people on earth so that people remember you long before you're gone, after you're gone, so that people can say, wow, she changed my life. So that's what I'm really trying to do, is to create my own immortality by changing the lives of others in ways that impact them and make me memorable, right? And I was a little kid a long, long time ago, really probably a teenager, when I said what I want my tombstone to say is, and at least she had fun.
And at least she had fun. You're having fun. I mean, you're out there, you're doing it, you're doing the retreats, you're intentional with your friends, your family, your business. Everything you do is on purpose, which is like, I just love the fact that we met and got to have these. We had a couple of these conversations without recording them.
Yeah.
Today I was like, let's do this. Let's get it recorded. Let's get it on the show. And again, any last words you'd like to say before heading out?
Your future is yours to choose. And if you don't choose it, someone else will for you. So that's what I leave you with. Choose it or let someone else choose it for you.
Mic drop right there. Boom. Ends the show. It's so true. Guys, take that. Do something with it, please. And what I love, if you're listening right now, again, tuning in on YouTube, listening to this episode, shoot us a message. Like Angie and I, we want to know. You can send it to me. I'll forward it to her. You can find her on social. Send her a DM. Something that you took away from this, you applied it, and you can say, I saw some direct results. Maybe I was intentional about X, Y, Z, and now this is what came from it. I'm looking to build my own future. I'm taking control of it. This is what I start to see happening, the fruition. Tell it, this is what we're doing this for. We'll do this anyway, but we're really doing this for the audience, not for you and I, right, Angie? So we'd love to hear that feedback.
Those are the best stories I ever hear.
100%. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MikeDiCioccio. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.